I haven't seen the Yangtze River for a long time. The cargo ships and whistles moving on the river are like the long history of China, flowing slowly in front of you. There are many mountains and rivers in China, but only the Yangtze River has this feeling, not on those high-rise buildings, not on the Great Wall, and not on the snow-capped mountains. I think the Yangtze River gives NanJing a kind of atmosphere that all the cities in the south of the Yangtze River do not have. NanJing's presence has long been out of sync with its original status. It no longer has the pride of an ancient capital, and this ancient capital of the 6 dynasties was not even on my list of cities to visit. Living in Beijing for a long time has made me lose interest in ancient capitals. But I found out that I was wrong. NanJing has become a city I want to visit again. I think this is the best evaluation of a city. There are many cities in China that can be called ancient capitals, but I think the most ancient places now are probably only Beijing and NanJing. But after I visited NanJing, I understood why so many emperors wanted to build their capital here. In terms of natural environment, NanJing is indeed the best, with mountains, rivers, lush vegetation, diverse scenery and comfortable climate. It is exquisite and majestic, and elegant. I think Zhu Di must have known this truth, but the emperor had to guard the country's borders, and Beijing's geographical location was obviously more important. In fact, among the many ancient monuments in Beijing, you can feel mostly majesty and heaviness, even now, but in NanJing you can really feel more simplicity and elegance. After staying in NanJing for a few days, what impressed me most was the plane trees and dense vegetation here. The big and thick branches of the plane trees almost surrounded all the streets. They made all the buildings, scenic spots and even the city walls in NanJing full of charm. The plain road in Zhongshan scenic area is really beautiful. The various vegetations are lush and full of the whole cemetery. In winter, they are even colorful, and the eyes are a little overwhelmed. I often go to the Ming tombs in Beijing. It is considered a feng shui treasure land in Beijing, but compared with here, the scenery is indeed slightly inferior. In the end, the emperors and presidents will choose the place, and they also want to enjoy superhuman treatment after death. The architecture in Chaotian Palace looks no different from the Ming and Qing dynasty buildings in Beijing, and it is easy to find the familiar royal temperament, but the ancient trees here do make people more willing to stay. Of course, the biggest difference from Beijing is that even in the coldest season, you can visit the Jiangnan Gardens where it is spring all year round. What surprised me the most was the NanJing municipal government. After being used to seeing those extremely exaggerated government buildings in other parts of China, I was a little uncomfortable to see this building. It is no exaggeration to say that this is probably the most quaint government office I have ever seen. Talking about this, I have to say that the greening of the whole NanJing is indeed very good. In the main urban area, you can almost walk into a forest anytime and anywhere. In addition, the cleanliness of NanJing's streets is also on the same level as the major cities in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai. I personally feel that NanJing is one of the cities with the best environment I have ever visited. When you come to Nanjing, you will naturally have to visit various tourist attractions, and Nanjing has a very rich variety of tourist attractions. Compared to the disappointment in my last video about Xi'an, coming to Nanjing is a completely different experience. Let me first say the conclusion. The tourist experience in Nanjing is completely beyond my expectations. When you come to Nanjing, Confucius Temple is probably a must-see attraction. This kind of street specially planned for tourist experience is almost standard in every major city in China. If there is anything different here, it is that the popularity here is quite high, which is completely beyond my imagination. Look at the people queuing up here to buy specialties. It's a pity that I am not so interested in ducks. There is also this Qinhuai River where you can take a boat to feel the Jiangnan temperament. But my ideal Jiangnan temperament must have nothing to do with such a bustle. So everyone just take a look. I don't know how many people are troubled by the city wall in Beijing, so I can take a good look at the scenery of Nanjing City with the longest and highest city wall in Nanjing. The city wall in Nanjing may be the most beautiful one I have ever visited. There is Xuanwu Lake, moat, and Jiming Temple next to it. There is also a park under the city wall. You can also see the new Nanjing City in the distance. If there is no charge here, you can really take a walk and run here often. It's just a pity that there was smog when I came. Why does the city have to build a city wall? Naturally, it is because of its importance. In the eyes of the emperors of the Ming dynasty, Nanjing is probably the most important place, otherwise a city wall of such a scale would not be built. But obviously, building a solid city wall alone cannot guarantee the long-term stability of a city. Nanjing and Beijing have verified this truth with their own experience. But the names of the workers engraved on the brick wall are indeed the reason why the city wall can be preserved to this day, which shows the strictness of the Ming dynasty on quality. In fact, among all the famous attractions in Nanjing, I think this is one of the best attractions in Nanjing, and it should not be missed. The Baoan Temple can be said to be the most important and well-known temple in the entire Jiangnan region before the end of the Qin dynasty. Now we all know that this temple and the Glazed Tower, one of the 7 wonders of the medieval world, were destroyed by the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. The problem is that this site is in the core area of Nanjing City. How to treat this site park will have a significant impact on the city image of Nanjing. I think the Nanjing people I talked about must know it better than me. Therefore, they designed such a gorgeous site park, and this site park built nearly 10 years ago, with my current aesthetics, is actually not outdated or inappropriate. To be honest, I went in without any expectations. I just watched some introduction videos before going there, and I felt that there was something to see here. In order to see the lighting of the new Baoan Tower at night, I bought a ticket for the evening visit. But as soon as I entered the gate, I found that all the space designs and cultural relics displays here were very detailed, the design aesthetics were very online, and there was a sense of progressive levels. The further you go in, the more interesting it is. The cultural relics display space here can be said to be the best design among all the museums I have visited in China. There are so many styles that it is hard to take it all in. And the experience is unified without any sense of fragmentation. The long corridor design that looks at each other for thousands of years is one of the most distinctive designs in this museum. The underground palace design here can be said to be a perfect combination of modern design and Buddhist culture. When I walked here, I already felt that the ticket price of more than 70 yuan was a bit too low. In fact, the place where I stayed the longest was the Chinese Tripitaka Museum. When I walked here, I felt that I would not be worth the ticket price if I didn't take some photos. In this not-so-big space, I even felt that the cave experience was beyond the Mogao grottos. I don't have any religious beliefs, but I think this place may be more soul-purifying than those temples with heavy incense. When I left here, the staff had already started to remind me that the exhibition hall was about to close. In fact, if you look carefully, the design of a wall, a display of cultural relics, and even the design of a pool are all worth appreciating. It can be said that this Dabaoan temple integrates site protection, cultural exhibitions, cultural relics protection, urban landscape, and modern design. I watched a lot of videos online, but none of them mentioned the importance of this exhibition hall. When I went to so many museums, heritage parks, and even temples across the country, Dabaoan Temple was definitely the best experience I have ever had. This time when I was visiting Daiji Plaza in Shinjuku, I found a small surprise. There is an interactive game experience based on Feng Ning's version of Jinling Map, collected by Daiji Museum. After entering, they will give you a locator to wear on your hand, and then use your mobile phone to open the applet. After selecting your character will appear in this huge Jinling map. Wherever you go, he will go there, and you can play interactive games in this NanJing city of the Southern Song Dynasty. If you just go to show the original painting, I think you will never get this kind of detailed experience of life in the Southern Song Dynasty. The experience price is 30 yuan, which I think is quite reasonable. A bad movie costs 40 or 50 yuan, and the experience may be far less than this interactive game. In our current homogeneous shopping malls, this experience is really a surprise. Regarding tourism in NanJing, my evaluation is that I am really satisfied. There are not only real historical sites to visit here, but also carefully prepared experiences that allow tourists to experience the history and culture of Jinling. While I was wondering why NanJing was so careful, I was even more surprised to learn from a local media friend in NanJing that the Jiangsu government does not pay much attention to tourism, because the proportion of tourism in Jiangsu's fiscal revenue is not high, but it takes up a lot of energy. If you compare the tourism prices in other parts of China, you will understand that NanJing people are really not prepared to make money from tourism. Although this has no direct relationship with the good tourism experience, I just want to say it again, coming to NanJing far exceeded my expectations. Next, let's talk about history. If you ask me what the biggest reason for coming to NanJing is, it is definitely not the tourist attractions I mentioned above, and the memorial to the victims of the massacre is the most important itinerary of my trip to NanJing. I think this is probably a must-visit place for all Chinese who travel to NanJing. Viewers who often watch my videos should know that I have a complimenting attitude towards Japan today in many ways. But I should be the same as all Chinese in dealing with that period of history and must never forget it. Even though I have memorized the history of 1937 by heart, when I walked into this exhibition hall, I still couldn't control my emotions. I think whether you are Chinese or not, even if you are American, French, Indian, or Brazilian, when you see the scenes here, your emotions should be the same. But I think many Chinese people may misunderstand the meaning of this memorial. That period of history is very important, and this memorial is also very important. The importance lies in never forgetting the past when the Chinese were humiliated, never forgetting that national self-reliance is the foundation of the country, and never forgetting the crazy behavior of human beings under extreme consciousness. But we must also understand that the purpose of building this memorial is by no means to increase our national hatred, nor to let some people promote populism. There is a peace statue at the exit of this memorial, and I think the intention is very obvious. Some people say that the presidential palace in Nanjing is not interesting. It is just some old buildings from the Republic of China, and the main purpose is to see Chiang Kai-shek's office. Indeed, the historical significance of this presidential palace is far greater than its ornamental value. But I think you have to come here with the same mood as the president of Taiwan, just like me. I think this presidential palace is the most worthwhile place to visit in Nanjing. This presidential palace is a common memory of China and Taiwan. I know that some people really don't want to remember this place. After all, it is a failed history. I can understand that, but history is here. It is here even if you and I disappear. The Sun Yat-sen Mausoleum is the tomb of Dr. Sun Yat-sen, the pioneer of China's modern democratic revolution. It is not only the resting place of Dr. Sun Yat-sen, but also a symbol of China's democratic revolution. It is also a common memory of mainland China and Taiwan. I don't need to tell you about the historical significance of Yuwatai Martyrs Cemetery. What I didn't expect is that the environment here is no less than that of Zhongshan's scenic area. The wide square and long trails are elegant and solemn. This style of sculpture should be very common in China, but only this sculpture makes me feel so infectious. The simple lines and movements express the sadness and perseverance just right. At this time, words cannot express my feelings, and I can only thank the martyrs for their efforts. Nanjing's significance as a capital city should have long gone, but those sad, heroic, desperate, inspiring and hopeful stories all happened in the not-too-distant past. Few cities can preserve these vivid memories, and one city like Nanjing. The shops on the street, plus the ubiquitous duck blood vermicelli soup and salted duck, are almost the majority of the food and beverage options on the streets of Nanjing. To be honest, it's not that rich, but it's obviously much better than other cities in Jiangsu. Because there are too many people from Anhui, I think the tastes of Nanjing people may have overlapped with those of Anhui people. Forgive me for not being very interested in duck blood vermicelli soup and salted duck, but fortunately beef soup can satisfy my stomach. But this is only during the day, and there is another side to the fireworks in Nanjing. I originally thought that Nanjing was a city without nightlife. In fact, Nanjing is like other cities in Jiangsu. The streets look deserted after 9 o'clock. But obviously I was deceived. The fireworks of Nanjing people are hidden after 12 o'clock. I have heard about the ghost market in Nanjing for a long time, but it took me a long time to find a WeChat group through unofficial channels. There are only more than 400 people in my group. I thought the ghost market was just a second-hand trading market set up by a small group of people, and it was done secretly. This ghost market in Nanjing is really a ghost market. The location is not fixed every time. The address is not released in the group until 11 o'clock in the evening. It really looks like an underground work. When I arrived, I was surprised. Nanjing at night completely releases all the fireworks of a small city. This ghost market has existed for many years. It should be an inherent feature of Nanjing. Although it is always complained by citizens, you can see that this ghost market actually allows many people living in the big city of Nanjing to enjoy the fireworks of a small city. This is also the most interesting place in Nanjing for me. Nanjing doesn't have a completely relaxed urban environment like the southwestern cities, which is related to the lifestyle of the old Nanjing people. But Nanjing also accommodates this kind of place where young people can fully release the atmosphere of fireworks. Although it is a bit sneaky, it creates a unique atmosphere. I can see that this is indeed the best balance between the government's urban environment and the lives of ordinary people. Many people say that people from Nanjing are like northerners. I have lived in Beijing for a long time and I really don't feel that way. In my opinion, Nanjing people's voices are not soft and gentle, but they are definitely not noisy. They are just a little more straightforward than people in Suzhou, Wuxi and Changzhou. And they say that Nanjing people are big carrots, which means they are not good at calculating. I think compared with people from other areas of Jiangsu and Zhejiang, Nanjing people are indeed like this. This can be seen from the number of private enterprises in Nanjing and the per capita income. But who knows if these people in Nanjing are from Anhui? However, this characteristic of Nanjing people makes me feel that Nanjing has a more urban flavor and is more suitable for living. Another point is that compared to many other cities in Jiangsu and Zhejiang, Nanjing is really a city very suitable for city walk. You can walk through a row of high-end residential areas from time to time, and you can also enjoy the small alleys and bridges in the south of the Yangtze River. You can also find many old buildings from the Republic of China hidden on both sides of the street. The biggest difference between Nanjing and other cities in the south of the Yangtze River is that it combines the water town of the south of the Yangtze River, the history of the ancient capital, the style of the Republic of China, and the modern city. In addition, there are sycamore trees, lakes and parks all over the city. There is also the Yangtze River. Living in Nanjing is really enviable. I have been in Nanjing for several days, and it was all fresh. It turns out that Nanjing has such a strong ancient capital flavor, no less than Beijing and Xi'an. It turns out that Nanjing is also full of market atmosphere, with no shortage of delicious food and street stalls. It turns out that Nanjing is so beautiful, and you can enjoy it wherever you go. In general, I think Nanjing is really suitable for living. After all, the emperors and presidents before were not stupid. Some people complain that Nanjing has high prices, expensive housing prices, low wages, and not many job opportunities. In fact, if you travel around the country like me, there is not much difference in places suitable for living like Nanjing. You can see that the types of complaints in the comment area of my videos in Chengdu and Fuzhou are the same. If you want to live in a super city like Shanghai and Shenzhen with many job opportunities, it may not be suitable for living. But I believe that if you are from Nanjing, as long as you have a stable job and a decent income, you must love Nanjing.